Hey, everybody. So sorry about that. Talk about hard things. Heck, tech could drive a girl crazy. Good to see you, though. Oh, hi, everybody. I am so happy to be here with you today. Welcome to the Dr. Edie Show. Today, we're talking about choosing your hard. And I'm going to do a little introduction to this, and then we're going to talk about 3 ways to make the hard things easier, because we could all use a little bit of that, I think. I love this topic so much because I feel like especially my early life was such a good preparation for this. And the more that I learn, the more that I read, the more that I challenge myself actually to do hard things, the more I realize the amazing benefit and meaning that we get from choosing things that are hard or challenging. But what I wanted to say at the first of this live stream is this: life is hard anyway. It's going to be hard either way. So you can choose your hard. What I'm advocating is that you choose your hard on purpose so that later it can be easier. But what we like to do, and our culture is full of really amazing, fun, tasty ways to do this, is we choose easy now, and then we end up with hard later. And my point, that what I have been learning more, is that the more we choose to suffer now, there's a scripture that says that, choose now to suffer affliction with the people of God. There's that scripture, but there's just so many examples of this, of just being willing to choose for it to be hard in the beginning, so that later on you can reap the benefits of that hard work. So let's take, for example, we're talking about your health. Health changes are so hard to make, are they not? I mean, you guys, I have been doing CrossFit now for 4 years. 4 years, going very faithfully, working hard, learning so much about nutrition, changing the way I eat, working on sleep. Like, health changes are not easy. But the alternative to that is that we just do whatever we want. We don't worry about it. We eat what we want. We don't move. We stay up all night. We don't prioritize sleep. And then we have all the health ramifications of that in 10 years. It's going to be hard then. So choosing hard now, what feels like hard, to make better choices, to learn what our body needs, to move how our body needs to move, all of that, choosing the hard now, choosing to sacrifice now, is way better than just waiting on the hard and the sacrifice. Here's the point: you're going to sacrifice either way. You're either going to sacrifice your health, or you're going to sacrifice your comfort right now. You're going to choose to have it hard now, to be willing to do the hard thing now, so that you don't have to choose all the consequences, or so that you don't get all the consequences of that later, right? And you can think of this in every area of your life, in your work life, in your relationships. Again, choosing, like, say in your work life, you choose to work hard now, sacrifice now, get your education, do what you need to do, so that later on you can set yourself up for being in the place that you really want to be. Otherwise, you just do whatever you want now, and you're sacrificing your dreams. You're sacrificing your goals. You're going to sacrifice. It's going to be hard. The question is, are you going to get what you want at the end of the hard or not? And it's so tempting, and we all fall prey to doing this sometimes, where we just choose the easy way out. We just choose the easy way out because it's easier and because we can. Then there are consequences to pay for that. So I'm always asking myself, when I have a situation where I can kind of pick, like, for instance, even something as simple as like parking farther out in the lot. I've just trained myself now to just park far out. walk a few extra steps, right? I remember a time in my life where I was always like, I just want to get up really close. I don't have to walk forever, right? And it's so funny now because Tom is riding with me all the time, and he's always like, why are you parking out here? He's always on my case for parking out so far. But I just trained myself to park farther, to walk farther, choose something that's a little harder now. And there's a million ways that you can do this in your everyday life. How can you choose something that's just a little harder? And doing that now, sacrificing now, for what you really want ultimately, sacrificing what you want instantly for what you want ultimately in your life, right? And I think we all know this is true, but it feels like not so fun to do it. So that's why I wanted to do this live stream, because I want to talk about 3 ways that will help you as you're embracing challenge, whether it's challenge that just comes into your life. Sometimes challenges just come and we don't ask for them. And sometimes those challenges are actually so good for us because we can't opt out of those. We have to stay in those. If you create a challenge for yourself, like, oh, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, you can opt out of that. But challenges that just come to us that we can't opt out of are really good for us too, oftentimes because we have to stay in it. And so we're going to talk about 3 ways that you can kind of that make it a little bit easier to embrace challenge. And the first one is to see it as part of a bigger picture. I remember when I first started working on my past, I came into adulthood with some victim mentality and some resentment and some beliefs about myself and about the past that were not helping me. And I was making my life way harder than it needed to be. And I remember when I first started confronting my past, it felt so daunting. It felt so hard. When I started writing my book and writing things down, it felt really daunting. And what I began to see is that if I stepped back and I look at the big picture of things, I could see it way differently. When you're looking at something and you're, right up on it, it's hard for you to get some perspective. But I kind of stepped back and looked. And what I found really surprised me, y'all. I found that my brain had been focusing on everything that was negative, but there were so many amazing things. There were blessings everywhere I turned in my childhood. There were people who loved on me. There were experiences that I wouldn't trade for the world. There were ways to look at it that just brought me so much joy and laughter when I finally allowed myself to see it in a different way. And a lot of times we hold on to the story that we're telling ourselves about this hard thing. We're really tied to the story. I was so tied to the story that my childhood was hard and that I was fatherless and I didn't get what I needed. And when I let my grip up on that story and I was willing to see it in a different way, I realized I was given such an amazing blessing in my childhood. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Not for $1 million. I wouldn't trade it. I had an amazing, priceless, very difficult childhood that caused me to grow into the person I am. And if you're willing to see it as part of a bigger picture, whatever you're going through will change when the way you see it changes. So loosen up your grip on the story that you're telling yourself about this thing, right? Be willing to reinvent your story. I teach my clients in Life Mentoring School, we go on a treasure hunt in our past. I want you to go on a treasure hunt in the hard thing, that thing in your life that you feel like is so difficult, it's so challenging. I want you to go on a treasure hunt, and I want you to see, because I promise you, you will, if you open up your heart and mind to it. I want you to see everything there that is beneficial, that has been good for you, that has changed you, that has made you into the person that you are today. Number 2, set your intention to grow from the challenge. Just decide. that this is going to be for your benefit and growth. Just decide it. A lot of times, and this would probably be more under number one, but I think this is true, but I love reminding myself, God is for me. He loves me. He's for me. And everything in my life, he does and he allows because he loves me and he's for me. And I want to begin to see it that way too. And I want to set my intention that no matter what happens in my life, I want to grow and develop from it. I want it to make me stronger and more resilient. Because here's what you will notice. The more you begin to see challenge and hardship and sacrifice and suffering through these eyes, the easier it gets. I promise you. And I feel like doing this intentionally for the past several years, not very many things feel that hard now because I just have trained myself to see it as just another way to grow, another way to change, another way to become more resilient, to become stronger, to become the person I was actually created to be. When you start seeing it like that, it's almost as if instead of resisting the hard thing, you just start to welcome it. You embrace it. You go, bring it, because I'm going to grow from this. This is going to change me. This is going to make me stronger. This is going to make me more resilient. And it's so interesting because being willing to do this, you guys, I've found this the most challenging in the last couple of years with Thomas because he can be a very high-spirited little Mustang to deal with. And I would find myself when we first brought him into our house, I would find myself at odds a lot of times. Like I would think to myself, I know I'm better than this. I know I can, surely I can outsmart him and I can figure out a way to motivate him and encourage him. We don't have to be like this all the time. And I was just telling a story on Insta stories, but I'll tell you here. This morning, he's got to give a speech on Friday. And he thinks this is the worst, hardest thing he's ever had to do. His name is actually Thomas Jefferson because of different events. And we haven't fully gotten our adoption. Our adoption hasn't gone through yet. So anyways, long story short, his name is Thomas Jefferson. So he's doing a speech in his biography fair on Friday. And he is Thomas Jefferson. And he's been telling me the whole time that he's not going to do it. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. So I have just slowly over time gotten him to memorize the first parts of it. And finally just resorted to full out bribing him, which worked. It felt like it was kind of working until this morning. And I said, buddy, in order to get your thing on Friday, your prize, you have to practice your speech on the way to school this morning. So we got a full-on meltdown. Said he wasn't going to school. Laid right there by the door. Hollered, kicked, not going to school. So in times past, he and I would have just been like this about it. You got to get in the car. No, I'm not. All this. So I just decided to go get in the car. And it was interesting. It's not so much what I did, but it was just my attitude. I just have changed my attitude about him. I look for ways that he's funny and adventurous and challenging. And I just ask myself, can you rise to the challenge? Yeah, it's challenging. Can you rise to it? So I got in my car and I had this kind of, in my mind, I kind of had a playful attitude, like he's totally melting down. That's okay. So I got in the car and I drove like I was driving off. And he watches me drive and then he starts chasing me. So I start going like a little faster and then he starts laughing and stops in the road. So I roll down the window and I said, hey buddy, I'll race you to the horses. So he gets his energy back and he cuts through the side yards and, gets down to the horses and he's all out of breath and sweaty. And he said, let me catch my breath and I'll race you to the end of the road. So literally the child ran a half a mile before school this morning, which was perfect because he got all of his energy out, all of his angst, all of his anger, all of his frustration about his Thomas Jefferson report. And when he got in the car, very angrily and begrudgingly, he said his speech. And we had a great rest of the morning. So I say all that to say that you can continue to see this relationship, this job, this struggle that you have. You can continue to see it as a struggle and you can just war against it. Or you can ask yourself, how can it change and grow me? How can I see it differently? How can I approach it differently? How can I not be angry in the morning and just decide that it's all okay, right? I know Angela is saying in the comments, that's good parenting. Here's what I told her yesterday. I didn't think I was going to say this on live video, but I'm going to tell you. Tom got a haircut on Friday and his hair literally in the mornings is sticking straight up and he won't let me do anything. So yesterday morning it was raining and I said, buddy, your hair is sticking up everywhere. I said, when we slow down at this stop sign, you need to stick your head out the window and let it rain on it. So it will so your hair will be down. So he did. It was so perfect. Again, I don't know if I'm winning any parenting awards, but what I want to tell you is that let the hard things do their work on us. This is our curriculum. Thomas is currently my curriculum. I think it's sometimes way more about how it's changing and growing me than how it's changing and growing him, right? So really be willing to see it kind of in the big picture and set your intention that you will grow from this. Now, number 3, seek like-minded people to be in community with you when you are doing hard things, when you're in a hard season. This is true for all the times, but you guys, I don't know what I would do without my people. I don't know what I would do without Tom's teacher. I don't know what I would do without Stevie and my kids and my sister who randomly sends me flowers and says, you're doing a great job. I don't know how you do it, but I love you. I don't know what I would do without my community. And I was thinking about this because I was at the gym this morning and we were doing a really hard workout. For me, it was hard. I don't like that. We get on like an assault bike and then we had to do push-ups. It was just hard and not one of my favorite workouts. So I had kind of a crappy attitude. And after we finished the workout, our coach started doing the workout himself. And of course, he was going to have to do it by himself. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I could not do this workout by myself. The only reason I made it through is because I had a partner and we were pushing each other, and doing it together. So we were kind of standing around, all getting ready to leave, and he was doing his rounds. And as he got to his last round, I made a joke and I said, hey, we'll all jump on the bike and do the last round with you. And then I thought about what I said. And I'm like, well, everybody but me. I didn't want to do another round. But literally, you guys, this was so cool. All the people that were left in the gym put their bags down, took their jackets off, and did another round of that workout so that they could kind of cheer Coach Galen on. I thought that was so cool. And he's fit as can be. He didn't need really probably anybody cheering him on. But I just thought it was such a cool example of what it's like to suffer together. It's so much easier together. It's so much easier when we remind ourselves that there are other people in this with us, that there are other people going through hard things and way worse things, but we can be here for each other and support each other and speak words of life over each other. I just love that concept of just being willing to show up for each other. And sometimes I feel like we're so busy critiquing each other and comparing ourselves to each other and judging each other and resenting each other that we forget everybody's fighting a hard battle and we need each other. And the best way, if you don't feel like you have the community that you need for your hard thing you're going through right now, you know how you create it? You show up for other people. You be there for them. You be willing to take the first step. You be willing to create the connection. You be willing to create the community. And everything feels easier and everything feels lighter when we do it together. So listen, I know that life is crazy and hard, and we've had a crazy year. We were talking about that this morning, of just like kind of recounting, like, gosh, this has been a hard season. How many of you are feeling that? You're feeling like, yeah, this has been a hard season. But we make it harder on ourselves when we add on top of that resentment and making ourselves feel like a victim and blame and all the things that we heap on top of it. Instead of doing that, would we be willing to see it differently? Would we be willing to let it be our curriculum, to let it soften us, to let it change us and mold us and make us into who we could be? Would we be willing to seek out community, to be there for other people in their hardship, and really support them in their last round? Like, I'll never forget that. That was just such a simple moment in my gym this morning, but I'll never forget that. How just being willing to be there for each other, to do hard things with each other, to bear one another's burdens, to rejoice with those who rejoice, but to weep also with those who weep. So, anyways, I hope you'll choose your heart, and I hope that you will make it easier on yourself with these 3 little tips. And I hope you'll reach out to somebody today. There's somebody in your life today that's really struggling. You could use your touch, your word of encouragement, your cheering them on, your jumping in to do the last round with them. So I hope you have a great day. I love you. Thank you for joining today. Share this video. If you are getting benefit and encouragement from these videos, please like and subscribe and share these videos with your family and friends. We need life poured into us. If we ever needed it, we need it now. So share this out, and I love you, and I thank you for being here. Bye, you guys.